So The Mask for me is one of the greatest Jim Carrey movies of all time. It's either that or Ace Ventura.
He found Captain Winky!
To be fair, there's several movies that could get into this conversation. What is the greatest Jim Carrey movie of all time? From the likes of Dumb and Dumber to How the Grinch Stole Christmas to even, let's be honest, Liar Liar.
Kicking my ass, do you mind?
But let us know down in the comments down below your thoughts are on what the best Jim Carrey movie is of all time. And I think a major reason why this movie is so fucking good, let's be honest, is simply for the fact that it feels like a great superhero movie. And it's a one that doesn't get talked about enough because it feels like an underrated film, because not a lot of people associate it with the best superhero movies of all time, which it probably should be in that conversation, because I think some people attribute it just as it's just a Jim Carrey comedy movie, whereas in fact it is also a Jim Carrey superhero movie and is one of the best, in my opinion. There isn't a Marvel or a DC superhero movie. It's probably in there alongside like Kick-Ass 1 in terms of superhero movies that aren't connected to the franchise, which are just fucking mega in all fairness. And I think the idea that this mask over personifies your character. So if you as a person is a happy, jolly person, it'll 10 times that amount and make you over happy, over confident, and over this sort of person that you aim to be. It makes you into that. Or if you're like Dorian in this film and you're an asshole, it'll make you into an asshole.
What a rush.
However, I just want to put this into your mind. Imagine, right, if you close your eyes and imagine that this movie wasn't Jim Carrey in this film. Imagine it wasn't Jim Carrey playing the mask. Imagine it was somebody else, like, I don't know, fucking Ben Stiller. Would it have that same effect? I'm not dissing Ben Stiller here or whatever, or even Jack Black, for instance. They wouldn't have that same feel and that same energy required to play this role, in my opinion. I just think this perfect role just suited him down to a nutshell. And same with Ace Ventura, same with Dumb and Dumber. These roles were made for Jim Carrey. And I just think the energy required to play those roles just wouldn't be the same without him being in this. Same with probably Cameron Diaz in that romantic role, because every romance film these days has, or back then should I say, had Cameron Diaz in that role. Something About Mary, Shrek even. You know what I mean? There's tons and tons of roles where Cameron Diaz is involved simply for the fact that she brings those romance angles into it, and it makes it quite a special kind of film. And that's what this movie presents with Jim Carrey and Cameron Diaz as they meet each other at the start of the film. And obviously Cameron Diaz is just there to do a job, which is to help Dorian get information about the bank and how that they can rob it. But obviously in doing so, she meets Stanley Ipkiss, which is Jim Carrey's character, and Stanley's sort of like falling for her a little bit and whatever. They like each other, but she's putting it on quite a bit. But then they meet again, and it's just sort of like a bizarre coincidence how they meet again. And it's not frosty, it's fine. They just talk, have a quick conversation, and then walk away. It's one of those. But then when she meets the mask, she absolutely falls for this mask character after, sweeping her off her feet, acting like this Prince Charming type of person. And when that happens, she feels like, oh my God, this person's great. And somehow manages to link the mask to Stanley Ipkiss when Stanley's like, yeah, I can find the mask for you, whatever. It's sort of like the Peter Parker Spider-Man thing, where it's like, yeah, I take pictures of Spider-Man and we know each other, sort of thing. And that's what the mask and Stanley basically put together there, a plan so that he could get Cameron Diaz to go out with him, really. And it nearly worked and whatever. And the intrigueness really got them two closer together until obviously Stanley Ipkiss ends up becoming himself and no longer the mask, as the mask is taken off him by Dorian, and Dorian is running around acting like a major super villain, and he manages to break out of prison and save Cameron Diaz from Dorian as he straps her with explosives and ready to blow her up. And that's where Stanley Ipkiss, just as himself, goes in there like fucking Superman and tries to go and save him, obviously with no superpowers, until he manages to retrieve the mask and save her, which is a fantastic story from beginning to end in a quick summarized version of that. I get that I've just rushed through that a little bit, but I think it was such a great idea that of trying to get those two together. At the end, it was a fantastic ending, and I think that by the end of it, she doesn't fall in love with the mask. She falls in love with Stanley Ipkiss, in which is a great ending for the film. I think somebody that doesn't get enough credit for the success of this movie, though, is the character of Dorian, because the character of Dorian is a great super villain for this movie, because at the beginning of the movie, he's bullied by people around him, the group that he's in, and gets treated like shit, and he uses that anger, uses that aggression to be able to prove to him, yeah, I'm the main boss around here. And when he manages to require the mask and use his resources to take the mask off Stanley Ipkiss, after Stanley, as the mask, took all the money out the bank which he was going to rob, it made quite a cool dynamic of Jim Carrey's mask versus Dorian. And obviously when Dorian acquires the mask as well, he makes himself into a fucking roided super villain type of villain, which was just untouchable against anybody. And for me, was the perfect type of villain to pick, as he weren't this fun, quirky guy as the mask. He was this evil, over-personified, steroid-looking motherfucker, which was an arsehole and was an absolute twat, but he absolutely made sense for that character and for him as a supervillain in that role. Before we jump back into this video, guys, please do us a massive favour and smash that subscribe button, because you do not want to miss a thing this week, next week, and the week after, because we've got tons and tons of content planned for you guys, and you can do us a massive favour by smashing that subscribe button, joining the community, getting updates to all the latest videos, from the YouTube shorts to the actual videos. It is well worth it, completely free, and you will not regret it. So to summarise one of my favourite Jim Carrey movies of all time, I think this is an 8.7 out of 10 and a great film. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Is it good, bad, terrible, amazing? Let us know all that jazz down in those comments down below. And if you haven't yet seen our review on Ace Ventura Pet Detective, check that out right now.